Well, we're life partners. We met 38 years ago, and it was a good fit. So we've lasted.
What was Hector's occupation?
Hector was an accountant. He was with Goldkist for 28 years. He was an accounting manager. He helped write some of the manuals. He would travel and do audits for the company. And he was very happy with his job.
And how about you?
I've always been in retail, in the furniture business, merchandising. And I was a florist for a while, but I missed the furniture, and I went back to the furniture.
And are you still working?
Part-time, just a couple of days a week. It takes a lot of my time to make sure Hector is cared for the way I think he should be. And I think that's one reason he's been with me as long as he has.
When did Hector become ill?
He was diagnosed in 2000, even though maybe 3 years before we noticed some problems. And it got to the point where we decided to have him tested.
And what was the diagnosis?
Very progressed Alzheimer's. It was very rapid in the beginning. His speech was affected greatly. His short-term memory was abysmal. And rapidly declined from there, early on.
How old were you then, and how old was he?
Oh, let's see. He was 55, and I was 52.
It's a long time to live with Alzheimer's.
They say it's the long goodbye.
So how have you felt about being together and having your relationship change so drastically?
It's only gotten better. The condition, we hate the condition, but I love caring for him, you know. It's just, it's till death do us part.
And is he aware of your caring at this point?
Sometimes I believe that he knows there's a constant there. I don't know that he knows. We don't know what Hector knows. But I do know that he's comfortable.
Was there ever a turning point in your lives?
Oh, yeah. Most couples go through a turning point, you know. It's like the midlife crisis or whatever, when you're really not sure if you're getting all the benefits out of life that you'd like to. You know, it just happens. But then you come to your senses and you realize the grass is never greener. Go back to your own pasture.
Well, what makes this grass so green?
It's just been such a loyal, well-oiled cog, you know, machinery. He had his duties, I had my duties, and they complemented each other. And they have continued to. He took good care of me. Not that I needed. He you know, he spoiled me. Now it's my turn. And it's, like I said, our bond is just tighter than ever.
You seem very relaxed. Is there ever any stress to the role that you've taken on at this point?
I used to have a lot of stress. I used to wear it on my sleeve, on my shoulder. I think this has taught me so much patience. I went through a death of a brother that I was very close to during our relationship. That was very hard. And then when this happened, nothing else mattered You know, I wanted to concentrate on each day being as good as the last.
How important has continued relationships with friends and family been, or has it?
Well, some our closest friends are still very close. Other friends, they're very sociable, you know, and we're not able to socialize like we did. So they've become a little distant. A lot of people remember Hector when he was, you know, the old Hector. And they don't really like seeing it. It doesn't mean that they care less about us. It's just a hard situation for anybody. Mm-hmm.
What was Hector like before he became ill?
Just a total gentleman. Just had a dry sense of humor. Just very easygoing. He was never a big talker. He was more of a listener. Because I made up the difference. He was just very, very pragmatic, very get the job done and no nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Well, how have you changed?
Not responding to everything that happens, you know, taking things as at face value, worrying about today, don't worry about tomorrow. I've changed a lot. I used to be I'm still emotional, but I used to be more so. And I didn't realize it until I've noticed a big change in myself, personality-wise.
So which way? I mean, is
For the better.
How so?
For the better. I don't react to things. Sometimes people say things, and before I would listen to what they were really saying, I may respond negatively. You know, even a doctor may say something, and since I was so protective, I would probably say something inappropriately because I am so protective. It's just for the better. I'm much calmer.
What are some of the things you've realized since you've become a caregiver that you may not have realized before?
How limited the medical system is, how limited care is outside the home. There are a lot of care facilities, but it's lacking in a lot of ways that most of us don't realize. Doctors know very little about Alzheimer's, and I don't see much in the near future. I'm not trying to be negative because they are working diligently. It's just a complicated situation. And I do realize how it has affected our friends, how some have become distant, not intentionally, just out of not knowing how to respond, So, you know, as our lives change, it changes our relationships. So.
Do you feel that you've had to make many sacrifices, like cutting down your work, things like that?
I have. It's been very draining financially. Money from savings is depleted, you know. Has it been for a lot of people? There are a lot of people going through this situation. My focus is caring for him, you know. Whether I'm making a difference or not, that's my priority. And that has been what changes me. I can't visit my family. It's just been hard. Easier than I thought as time goes on, because we've learned, you know, we have our system. We know how to manage from day to day. And with daycare, when I can take him and feel like he's able to go, it's been a godsend.
It sounds like you and Hector had a very active life, a social life, a rich life. Did you ever see yourself in the role of caregiver before this?
Never. Never. In fact, when he retired, he was hoping to work from home. And he was looking forward to working from home. But right away he realized retirement was cracked up to be. He wanted he needed that structured office environment. But no, it never once imagined that it would be like this.
So when you first became a caregiver, how did you look at that sudden change of roles?
Well, you're confused. It's devastating. And at first you don't realize the ramifications. You only know what you've heard, especially if you've not been exposed to the condition. And it's a grieving process, you know. You grieve from day one.
Well, has there been much physical deterioration for Hector?
Actually, no. His weight has fluctuated from up and down. Right now, I think it's at a good stage. His heart's good. He eats well. Sleeps most of the night. It's just his brain that has caused him not to be able to respond or to walk and do things that we normally do.
How about activities of daily living? Does he have any of those skills left?
I'm afraid not. And those were lost early on, you know. The most he would do was walk, which he liked doing. And then it would come to the point where I would put him in the wheelchair and we would walk. We would still visit friends and have dinner. And occasionally we still do that, but it's down to one friend. Hector's best friend calls every day, and we still either go to his house or he comes here. So I try to keep things going.
How important is that one friend or those few close friends that you still have?
Oh, awfully important. I know that I could call at a moment's notice, and they would make arrangements to help. But we've both been very independent our lives, and we don't tend to call on people. Now that we're using a hospice service, I realize how important it is to have somebody at a moment's notice, or and because they are in that capacity of caregiving, you don't feel badly about calling them, you know, whereas you would a friend sometimes.
What have you learned through this experience that you think might be helpful for other people to know?
Oh, wow. Don't project your thoughts and feelings into the situation, because it doesn't work that way, you know. You have to take each day as it comes, because it's a new experience every day. And just be easy on yourself, you know. We're tougher than we think we are. And if you love someone, you'll see through. When we moved into this house, we were together 1 year, and then we moved into this house, and we got busy right away turning it into what we wanted it. The garden, the interior, of course. Having pets, we just have had wonderful times. We had beautiful parties, garden parties. Every year we would have a huge Halloween party. The neighbors would drive around the block just to look at the decorations out front. And to this day they still say, "We miss your decorations." But we had those times. There'll always be good times.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when you come up against a feeling of isolation?
Oh, wow. Well, you do come up against those feelings. But you have to realize that you're not the only one in this situation. And it won't last. As sad as it is, it does end. And you have to focus on that. For the longest time I couldn't look at the future. But I've learned to live life every day. And as long as I'm alive, we're going to do that. And you know, no matter how long it takes, we're going to live that way.
What happens when you need a break?
Well, I did get a break occasionally when Hector would go to daycare, and then I could work some, which I love my work, because you're around people. I love being around people. But I never had anybody to come in if I needed to go to the grocery store or anything. It's very hard. Simple things that you don't think about. But now that we have hospice and volunteers, it's been wonderful, you know. It's been wonderful. I can spend an hour grocery shopping, you know, instead of coming home and say, "Oh my gosh, I forgot something," you know. But that's been the hardest part, when you're isolated and you're independent and stubborn. You don't ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what has been the hardest thing you ever had to do, and how did that change the way you looked at life?
His diagnosis was very hard. There were a lot of tears. Not that there isn't now, but they're fewer. They're fewer. But when you're vibrant and young, and you get a diagnosis like this, you know, it changes you.
Was Hector aware when he was diagnosed of what the diagnosis meant for him?
Yes, he did.
And how did it change him?
He was always quiet, but he became more so. And he was grieving deeply. And he would try to push it to the back burner. He really wouldn't talk about it a lot. So whenever he wanted to talk, we would talk. But it was usually about lighter things. And so we just dealt with it day by day, you know. When it came time for me to take away the car keys, that was so very hard. But he says, "I understand." Because he was very frightened if he got lost. Started in one direction and ended up in another. That was very frightening. And he didn't want to deal with that. He's a very practical person, even with the condition.
Mm-hmm. So what's important to you now, right now?
It's a good question. Just getting through to the next day. You know, I try not to make plans, even though I say that life goes on and I want to live a good life. you try not to make plans. I know that there will be times when I can make plans, but right now it's just day to day. And you know, I'm happy. I'm happy about that. I wouldn't want it any other way. I hate the disease, but I love caring for him.
What would you like your friends or family to know right now? Something that you want to say that you might not have said to them?
Well, I'm sorry that I've distanced myself from my friends. It's not only been their distancing themselves, but me also. And I apologize for that, because we've had such many good years together. And I apologize to my family because I've just not been able to be there with them through different occasions. But you know, they understand. My family understands. And his family certainly understands. His sister visits whenever she can. We're as close as any sibling could be. So I would just like to thank them for, I know the ones that are still our friends, and I'd like to thank them for persevering.
Mm-hmm. So who do you go to when you need some support?
God. We pray daily, you know. It may be a minor conversation. I don't pray well, but it's just like talking to yourself. I am spiritual. Hector was spiritual. And you need that. You need that.
So, do you have any advice for people who might suddenly find themselves in a situation like this, in a devoted relationship where they become a caregiver? Any advice about anything? Staying healthy or staying happy, how to be strong, or how to live your life?
Reach out to your friends early on. Don't hide away. It's not a shameful thing. And you're going to need those friends. And they'll be there for you. You just need to open up and tell them, I'm going to need your help through this. It takes a lot of people to see you through these times, you know. Like I said, there are a lot of people going through this now. It seems to be more prevalent. But don't give up. Don't shut yourself off. Don't isolate yourself just to the situation at hand. And friends and family are make you strong. They make you strong.
Anything else that you'd like to say, or any thoughts you might have?
I think all of us should do more volunteer work. Whenever there's someone in need, please offer your time. It's very, very important. There are so many people out there now who would love to have a visit, have you to make a pot of soup. It means a lot. And if you're a caring person, you know, it will do your heart good also.
Did you volunteer much before Hector got ill?
I worked 7 days a week sometimes, so it's almost impossible. And our life was full, you know. Not that we were selfish. We would always give to causes and things, but no volunteer work. But now I volunteer with outings at the daycare center. I love it. And I think I always will. And if anyone else would volunteer, they would feel the same way. It becomes addictive, you know.
So before Hector got ill, you were a people person, but you're a people person in a different way now.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you see it?
Well, I'm more. It's more of a real people person now. Before, in my jobs, you cared about your clients, about the bottom line. You must sell, but you want to make people happy. But now, we feed the soul. We reach out and do whatever we can. It's a totally different kind of experience. Okay, buddy. Okay.